I grew up in a household of educators. My father was a high school principal and my mother was a first grade teacher. And they trusted scholarship, they trusted learning. And they trusted learning during a time when the late 40s, early 50s, and the 60s. If you know anything about Southern history, those were interesting times for people. And they kind of could see around corners about how scholarship matters. And so I was around people who said, the road to the future is going to pass by the schoolhouse door. William Winter said that as governor of Mississippi. So education was always something that I found to be unusually strong as a guiding principle to help us navigate through our complex system. And the 2 or 3 things, and I'll finish with the 85 recommendations. I see Sonny Walker here. Sonny and I had a chance to chat. But we had some of the most intense, hard discussions with the group. At most of the times we were very civil about what we said, how we said it, but the discussions were intense. And we made space, a safe place for hard conversations. If I could describe coming up with those 85 recommendations, we had safe space for hard conversations. Because when you talk about education, you're talking about politics, business, education, and government, the past, the future, and who we are as a people. And some of those things we have in our history, they were not pleasant to talk about. Many people didn't want to hear us talk about it, but you had to sit there and listen to people talk about that from the 1870s to the 1960s, we had something called Jim Crow, and that impacted education. And people on the partnership would say that out loud. You had to sit there and hear someone have passion and energy and zeal about some very hard discussions. But in the end, we came up with 85 recommendations that are still sound today. So I want to say that I guess the final thing I'd like to say is the leadership. People like Mel Kruger, Bill Gaston, Carl Swearingen, Roy Richards, and Ann Kramer. Those were the people who were very visible in my life with the partnership. And I do not ever get engaged in anything unless I look at the leadership. If the leadership resonates with me, and I resonate with them, and it looks good, it feels right, and we have our passion, our ethics, our beliefs on the same page, we can do business. And that's what I saw in the partnership, is a strong, strong set of Georgians who led this process. And I'm delighted to come out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to come back to Atlanta. And I was downtown in Atlanta for 13 years on these highways. I do not know how I did that. The traffic in this town is really unbelievable. In Tuscaloosa, Alabama, if you get 6 cars in front of you, you go berserk. But on Interstate 85, that's not the case anymore. And I was just sitting there this morning in a parking lot, just sitting right in the middle of the highway. So I'm anxious to be here, glad to be here, excited, but I don't miss this traffic. Thank you very much.
You know, there's nothing like being wedged between Art Dunning and Steve Dolinger. And that's where I was for several years, and it was a wonderful time. When Steve and Diane called and asked that I say something, I began to write down all of those things that I believe we influenced. I know we influenced, that has made education better in Georgia and has helped the lives of boys and girls throughout. I want you to go on that Georgia Partnership website. Look at all of the accomplishments of the Georgia Partnership. I think when Jason got up today about the Next Generation School project, a project, Paul, that Georgia Power was very much involved in developing that school for the future, and in looking over this website just today, of those things that were advocated in the Next Generation School project, which was the first major implementation of the 85 recommendations, those principles are still important today, every one of them. Please go back and look at them. I thought when Jason got up and finished today, that's the Next Generation School project. And ladies and gentlemen, we at the partnership must always continue to think about the future. And as Jason said, those jobs that have not yet been created. So ladies and gentlemen, let's raise our glass to the Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education. Hear, hear.
Well, let me just bring this to a close. It's wonderful to say happy birthday to the organization you work with, 20 years. We've talked a lot about our leadership with our board, but underneath every good organization, there's a pretty daggone good staff doing a lot of hard work. The publications we do, the research we do. I don't know where they all are now, but back behind the counter earlier when you came in was Alice and Norma. Elise was there. Donna in the front here. Donna, raise your hand. Donna does a lot of our research and community strategic planning. Dana does our policy and research work. Bill Maddox, hardworking guy who does all this. Bill does all of our communication work and put a lot of this in place. But there's one other person that I need to recognize. Actually, it's a few people. Would our CFO come up here, please? Our CFO? And would our Chief Operating Officer come up? Would our HR department come up? And would our Vice President? What? All the same person. Diane's giving me this look. She is don't go away. She's very organized. This is all run very smoothly, but this part she didn't know was in the program. And she thought we orchestrated this for the three presidents to be here at the end just so you could see us. It really isn't that at all. It's for us to be able to say that over 20 years, there's been a glue that's held this organization together, and someone that made all three of us look pretty good. So for that, we want to give Diane just a little thing to help her reflect back and think about the future, to think about what she's done for the organization and what that will do for you and for kids in the future. And Diane, the three presidents, thank you, dear.
Is it breakable?
Don't drop it.
Sorry to keep everybody. Oh my goodness. Beautiful necklace.
This is from a little jewelry art store in the city of Decatur that makes their own jewelry, and this was made for Diane.
I don't have a speech because I am totally surprised by this, to say the least. But I remember back years ago when I left Alabama, I worked for an organization there for about 10 years. And it was just so heart-wrenching for me to leave that organization. But when I came to the Georgia Partnership, I felt like I had come home again. And it's absolutely all of you that makes this organization what it is. And it has been a true pleasure for me to work with each and every one of you. And thank you for being here to help us celebrate 20 years.
All right, celebrate. Make sure you get some more champagne. And thank you very much for being here. Happy birthday.
You know, thing that really touched me and impressed me was the early commitment to various elements of diversity. Of course, one had to do with geography. They wanted to be sure that various sections of the state were involved, and as we moved around, we met in various sections. We would go up to Dalton. We would go to Savannah. We'd go to Columbus. We'd go to Macon and meet. We took the partnership to those areas so they would feel a kinship and an ownership. It was racially diverse. It was gender diverse. It was elected officials. It was private sector people. it touched every element.
I think the main objective for how the partnership is to realize that from where it started in that collaborative, and that often makes it more difficult because we do have to keep everybody at the table, and therefore it can often, from an outside world, look like it's bogging us down. And yet we know from a long-term view, which education is, that the only way we're going to make progress is if we not only keep everybody at the table, but we continue to keep that conversation candid, clear, and consistent so we can make the progress that we want on behalf of every child in our state.
I first want to thank the Georgia Partnership Board Chairs who over the past 20 years have kept this organization strong and focused on its original mission, which was and remains today to improve student achievement across this state. As we look back over those 20 years, the original plan that was put in place is still relevant today. It has not been an easy road to travel, but it has been one of unwavering dedication and commitment. The partnership today is strong and it continues to make a difference in the public education landscape of Georgia. Our table remains filled with many voices from the communities that we serve. Business leaders know they have an organization that is providing first-rate research and policy analysis on which to make decisions. Educators know that expertise found at the partnership is unmatched and available to them when confronting a variety of issues. And our government and civic leaders also know that the Georgia Partnership's staunchly nonpartisan approach to every issue allows them to cut right to the facts. Yes, this past 20 years has been marked with hard work and because of that, accomplishments on so many fronts. But what about the future? The Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education is celebrating its 20th anniversary of success. We will be relentless in our efforts to do all we can to make Georgia's public education system the absolute best it can be. I want to sincerely thank all of you who have made a big difference in our success. And a special thanks to all the many supporters who believe in the work of the Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education.